Elon Musk is back as wartime CEO, and this weekend he's been on fire with major news and announcements. First, the United Arab Emirates' Abdullah Al Mahed met with Elon Musk at Tesla's headquarters on Saturday as he invited Elon to an upcoming Abu Dhabi event. They showed off a video of a gold Optimus as it is now able to autonomously self-charge wirelessly. Elon also announced that Tesla is working hard on scaling the humanoid bot. Second, Elon made a post saying that when Tesla first went public in 2010, it was just 0.1% of today's current market cap. He also said that with good execution, it's possible for Tesla to 5x its revenue in 5 years. Third, two important analysts raised price targets yet again. Dan Ives of Wedbush is now at $600, saying he sees an accelerated AI path by next year. Deutsche Bank is now at $435, raising nearly $100, as they say there are major overhangs now removed. Fourth, great news for Tesla's full self-driving. Following Elon's announcement that FSD version 14 goes into early wide release this week, government regulations by the UNECE now allow system-initiated maneuvers. This key regulation now paves the way for FSD supervised approval in many countries in Europe. Finally, as we look forward to this Thursday when Tesla will drop their vehicle deliveries and production numbers for Q3, spy shots of Giga Texas are showing the most cars ever in overflowing parking lots. We've got Jeff Lutz here with us today. Jeff is the ex-CVP of Supply Chain and Chief Quality Officer. He's now CEO of his own supply chain consulting firm. Thanks, Jeff.
Hey, Herbert. Yeah, this is a lot of convergence here in the next couple of days and a lot of great news over last week. So let's just go through it.
Yep, lots. This is a lot, this one. Again, Elon's been busy. He's been focused on Tesla, wartime CEO. So the first time he actually dropped this video of Abdullah Al Mahed dropped this video of him visiting Elon at Tesla headquarters. He praised Elon as the mind that envisions the future before others can even imagine it. I'll play that video, but he also posted this saying that he was honored to meet Elon, the mind shaping the future. We explored AI as more than a tool, a driving force to humanity's future. Elon praised the UAE's vision. And as a global hub for tech, so there might be, I'll ask you that question. Why did they do this? Is there some sort of deal coming? But we'll play this video of the Optimus walking around and having dialogue with them and so forth. So let's play this video. So this is, there's Elon. He seems to be in very, very good mood too, by the way, Elon. You can see he's laughing and so forth. And then there he is. He's great mood. And then we'll see the bot here shortly. And this one's interesting because it looks like that the Optimus is it's like a wireless pad now, and he's just standing there, but he can self-charge. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, we know with Robotaxi that they said that they've gotten the efficiency, the wireless efficiency to like 95%, I think, which is honestly unheard of. So it seems like there's no reason that innovation can't translate over to Optimus. And there could have contact charging, but when you have contact charging, you have another mechanical interface that could get dirty. You could have corrosive issues. So I think wireless is a good way to go. This is an important meeting. I think you look at the Mideast kind of power center, Saudi Arabia, UAE, multiple areas where it's just a huge concentration of energy and wealth, and they're trying to figure out right now where they pivot. I mean, they have a good idea where they pivot in terms of energy and latest tech and automation, AI, and really turning that area into just not having all this AI infrastructure just happening in the US and happening in China. They want to make sure that there's a huge, sovereign AI installation. So that means AI infrastructure, language models. It also means real world AI. And if anybody wants to see what's going on in the leadership perspective with real world embodied AI, where you have AI working in the products we use today, starting with vehicles and then eventually Optimus, that's you're having a conversation with Elon. So these are all important because they're trying to understand, there's behind the scenes looks at some of these things in terms of maturity and capability. And these power centers, they're full of capital and they place their bets. So these are important conversations to have. They could go, and they're pretty neutral. They could go the China route with AI and robotics, or they could go the U.S. routes. That's why you saw this huge contingency that was there a couple months ago, led by the president and several corporate CEOs were there, including Elon. So this is really important for Elon, his companies, and Tesla to have a really strong relationship with this power center. So
Yeah.
it's good.
Also, right? So this guy came here to look at and do a tour of the humanoid bot factory and so forth. So there may be more than what we think. But it's great to see Elon being able to do these high level conversations. Only he can do, really. So more information about the humanoid bot that Elon responded to also. Here's the first one. This guy published this saying, this, according to this paper, the Unitree G1 humanoid robot, which is the Chinese one, secretly and continuously sends sensor and system data to servers in China without the owner's knowledge or consent. So that's something they discovered. You don't want these bots anywhere near you. Literally, the first sentence, we present a systematic security assessment of the Unitree G1 humanoid showing it operates simultaneously as a covert surveillance node. That's the paper. Anyways, this guy says we need Tesla and Figure and 1X. These are the Western robot companies to outcompete Unitree as soon as possible. This is a national security issue. Elon responded to him saying Tesla's working hard on scaling Optimus. Yeah, you've got a lot of experience on this, Jeff. Obviously you worked in China. You've rolled out these mobile phones, which can also record all sorts of things. So this is probably hitting close to home.
Yeah. Yeah. A number of things that come to mind, and I've had extensive training as well in terms of security and how to deal with these situations, both traveling abroad and using certain products and devices. And this is a real issue. So what this turns into is, what does this mean for supply chains? When the smartphone supply chain was developed, it was developed as a global supply chain. Were there suppliers in the US? Sure. Were there suppliers in Europe? Sure. Were there suppliers in APAC and China? Of course. That's where the highest concentration is. But you basically got the part at the lowest price and highest area of availability. So you had choices when ramping that up to, that's over 1 billion units a year now. And now a lot of those companies have to look at it differently as it relates to these geopolitical tensions and tariffs. And I think with humanoid, one of the, and you're not going to see the companies come out and necessarily say it because they don't want to cut, including Tesla. They don't want to cut, their fingers off, their hands off. They don't need to. But I think these supply chains are going to start off localized, which is making it more and more difficult, which means you're going to have to figure out certain things in each geography. And even Tesla did not start highly localized. Their batteries obviously coming from Korea and China and so forth, and basically wherever Tesla could get parts, they got them because there wasn't an EV supply chain. But I think with humanoid, I think a lot of the work is going to be involved with developing the capability. And you already have components that require extremely high tolerances. And right now, those tolerances are causing part processing times to be very long, excessive, lots of manual machining involved to get the tolerances needed for these rotors and actuators. And so all this needs to be figured out, but I think the key takeaway here is there is a security element with bots, both in terms of their end use cases as well as their supply chains, where I think localization is going to be an unwritten and potentially written rule from day one.
Yeah. The other thing you were just talking about localization of supply. One thing you've been talking about for the last several months is this very important concern about the permanent magnets, especially the ones without rare earths. You were saying that that's critical. We got news here that Samsung, which I think is a partner of Tesla, of course, Samsung starts securing permanent magnets with rare earths. Magnetic
Without
factory
rare
starts
earths.
without
Yeah,
rares. Yeah,
without.
sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to show Nylon Magnetics here first, and then here's the actual title: Without rare earths, U.S. nylon magnetic factory started construction. So Samsung began securing these magnets, groundbreaking for nylon magnetic factory in the U.S. And this said Park said Optimus question mark. Yeah, so that's what's happening. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
announced
So
on the
we know,
26th.
we know Tesla has a very good OEM supply chain relationship with Samsung. We know they're using them for AI 6. We know that there's a huge investment for fabrication and packaging in Texas. We know that they're using Samsung's camera unit Semco for a subsidiary for imaging. I think both in the vehicle and in Optimus. We know they're using Samsung for memory. There's a pretty broad relationship here. I would say there's I don't know if they're using them for displays or screens in the car. I think they're pretty expensive, some of their tech, but and Tesla doesn't need OLED and some of the other tech that they're using. Not that Samsung doesn't do other tech, but they're pretty expensive on displays. Point is we still have a very serious rare earth problem. And while tensions have cooled off between us and China, it's and licenses are flowing. There has been a set of walls put up, just like the U.S. by the way put up walls with chip making equipment and extending those licenses. These walls are up for rare earth licenses, and while they've allowed more licenses to be sent out and approved, the walls are still there, and those walls could close at any one point in time. So it's really incumbent upon the U.S. and U.S. allies to come up with solutions. So there's two things happening. One is there's rare earth mining and there's rare earth refining occurring now in non-China areas. It's occurred before, but it's literally 5 to 10% of global production or refining has been outside of China. That's starting to increase. There's a supplier in the U.S. that's starting to build both increased refining capability, Mountain Pass MP, and they're building an assembly factory in Texas. This is an example of a company that's trying to remove rare earths, but still trying to get the same strength size ratio and performance of the magnets so they can still work. That's the big draw on rare earths, is you can get the size, you can get the reliability, by the way, over temperature, over vibration, you can get that performance in a very small package, and the cost structure is pretty good. So this company's trying to do is they're trying to take the rare earths out, trying to remove that dependency from China, but still maintain that size weight ratio. I haven't seen the data. I've seen the patents, but we haven't seen the data yet. But they're starting, the net of this article is they're starting construction of a production factory in Minnesota, which is good.
In the U.S., yeah, great that it's in the U.S. and great, of course, as you said, Samsung and Tesla are very good long-term partners. I don't know why you know so much about this stuff, Jeff. I know rare earths and mining.
There's a lot.
A little too much, dude. Just kidding. All right. Well, no, we appreciate your knowledge and sharing that with us. Let's get back to the fun stuff. Not that that wasn't fun.
Yeah.
But this is Elon talking about, the future of Tesla and how big of a market cap it can be. And this, I think you were there, right? Because, you and I were both following Tesla 2010. I remember this video, this interview. This is the day when Tesla got listed on NASDAQ. Tesla today is worth 1.39 trillion. I'll play this video when he was being interviewed, the day that he went public. And he said this just yesterday. He said Tesla went public for 0.1% of its current market cap. Let that sink in a little bit.
Yeah.
At 2010, when he started, it was 1/1000 what it is today. That is value not only to him and to Tesla, what he was able to do, but to shareholders. Like that's a Cinderella story right there. This guy posted this, and I estimate a 5x in revenue for Tesla 5 years from now. This is his table here of where he thinks. This is the Tesla CEO Performance Award, and then his forecast and so forth. But basically, in 5 years, he thinks that the revenue will 5x. Elon responded to that, saying, with extremely good execution, this is possible. He has to be careful what words he says, of course, but he says this also. That is possible. Yeah, thoughts on... Oh, let me play this first, sorry.
Well, I should mention that not only were we able to increase the size of the offering and price above the range, but the quality of investor that people will see, when people see who's investing in an IPO, it's the smartest, most long-term thinking investors in the market. It's really an amazing set of investors. So I think it's just worth noting that the smartest money in the world is betting on Tesla. They must have a reason for doing so. Because obviously to go public and increase the range and increase the price in this market is not easy. And these are very well-informed people.
And then do you remember Jim Cramer saying, never, impossible?
Yeah. And you know what? That was 2010. So this is just coming out of the 2009 great financial crisis wrapping up. So this is just, it's probably fresh in people's minds. And this is probably the window opening for companies like this to occur. So yeah, I mean, just think about at that point in time where EVs were, where that whole business was, and the impact it's had on everything since. And now that technology is being used for stationary storage. That technology is being used in a number of areas, and it's going to be part of the solution to have us be multi-planetary.
Yeah, so Tesla just dropped another post this morning, actually. So first, he took a company from nothing, IPO, go from IPO to where it is. And then 2018, he was awarded his performance plan. It was for billions. Tesla said 2018 was for billions. Now it's for trillions. The new CEO Performance Award is for trillions. This is where Elon's can take it. So don't bet against Elon, but we're just starting now. So the next segment here are more and more institutional analysts are jumping on board and raising stock price targets. And the important ones is, these two coming up here that you got Dan Ives of Wedbush Securities. He can't not be the one with the highest price target. Last week, Baird came out with $535. And so Dan says, okay, he was at 500 for so long, leading the way. Now he's raised his price target to 600, major transformation underway. He said that our view that an accelerated AI autonomous path is now on the horizon next year, 2026. This is him. Robotaxi is launching in 30 cities soon, 80% market share potential. Tesla market cap could hit 2 to 3 trillion. I'll just play a little bit of what he said.
I think this is now going to be the start of probably the most important chapter of growth ever for Tesla. In terms of autonomous, I believe we're going to see 30 cities potentially over the next 3 to 6 months. And that's going to be the start. Because, Courtney, my view is that they will own 80% of the autonomous market. And that is not being factored into the stock. That's why I think this is $2 trillion for starters. Ultimately, will be a $3 trillion market cap. This continues to be, in my opinion, the most undervalued true AI play in terms of physical AI play out there.
Okay, so at least he's saying 80% of the market share for Robotaxi, and that part of it is not being evaluated yet. But like why today versus last week, except for the price went up, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of that happening. I mean, Dan's been in front of it, so I think him and Wedbush deserve credit for that. But a lot of the price target changes, I mean, it's a small part of their job, I guess, but it really want to get into what's the analysis and why is the name differentiated, and will it stand the test of time? Will it stand... Is it robust? Will it withstand competition? So when you read through these notes, you try to understand it. But in a lot of these notes, we're going through a lot of it as it relates to Tesla. We're going through and we're pretty far ahead of it. What we discuss on these channels, and I think there's a lot of great crowdsourced information in the Tesla retail community. I think the analysts are very well connected into that. But yeah, there's this class of analysts that are ahead of this and they see where this is going, and they've positioned themselves in that way. So they're priced, people were looking at them when Tesla was below 300 and they have a $500 price target, and people were looking at them like, they had, three eyeballs. But so I think there's a section of them, there's a few, and there's a lot of just chasing that's happening right now. And I think there are price targets. I thought I saw Mizzou or somebody's over 600. So they're just continuing to expand and grow. And if you're an analyst and you're seeing what Tesla's doing with Robotaxi, you see that they're hitting their dates now. Let's see with FSD 14 coming out. I know FSD 14 isn't going to move on its release date. It's not going to cause some major gyrations, but it shows that the company's executing. It shows that they have even a greater level of predictability, I think, in terms of these releases coming out. And they've been very clear that there's going to be a couple of point releases needed, but it's showing that there's a little bit more predictability here. So I think if this convergence is happening, if 14 is going to feel more sentient, have all these use cases closed, robotaxis are going to be upgraded, robotaxis can then increase their expansion. By the way, I've heard some interesting thing on some of the YouTube channels of, once the safety driver is removed, then that unencumbers Tesla from expansion. Actually, there's a couple of things happening when you're doing a safety critical product. So there is going to be this milestone where they do remove the safety driver in some locations if they qualify locally. But in terms of expansion, there's another governor on that expansion, and that is the performance of the system relative to the failure rate they wish to endure, and the severity of failure rate they wish to endure. Because as you see with other competing robotaxi services, there are issues. And as they expand, they only have some of these competing services only have a couple thousand cars. Every day you're seeing some sort of, viral blooper moment with these robotaxis. So Tesla's got to manage that as well. And so far we don't see a bunch of those moments with Tesla's solution, but we will. And so when you're thinking about expanding a safety critical service like this, you also understand based on your internal metrics, your internal dashboard, what the probability of those occurrences is. And then you can actually calculate how many vehicles you would want on the road giving rides concurrently. So they're managing these two vectors, the performance of the system and the probability of failure. And what they want to do is they want to keep the number of vehicles at a level so they can continue to improve the system, so that as they improve the system and as they add more vehicles, we don't see any noticeable, shift in sentiment in what we see online. Because if you're Tesla, if you fast forward a year from now, you just want robotaxis blending into the background of society. You want them thought of as they're always there when you need them. You take your phone out, you pull out the app, in a minute or two, you have your ride. It's safe, it's reliable, it's on time. And that's what you want. You don't want this thing of like, we tried to get them out there too quickly. For what? Tesla doesn't need the cash. Okay. Tesla doesn't need some injection of like major positive investor sentiment. They have it. They've built up this wonderful positive sentiment around what they're doing, what they're building. So they don't have to rush it, is my point. They don't have to, goes back to my original point a month or two ago about the safety rider. They don't have to rush eliminating that either. They have what they need. And so what they're going to do is they're going to remove those things. They're going to manage it in a way where they improve the performance of the system. Then they add vehicles. I know this sounds like it sounds logical, but there's math behind this, and there's math behind what they're doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, you point out always the probability of failure is what they know. But I think you and I agree that they could, if they wanted to, remove the safety riders now, because those guys are barely doing anything, but they don't need to. So what's the point? Like, let's keep them
Correct.
there. Just keep this probability of failure even lower and lower. Distribute or roll out FSD version 14. In the next segment, we'll talk a lot about a few good developments there, and then remove it when they need to. But they are very confident. Things are moving very, very well at this point. So back to the analysts, I did confirm that actually Dan Ives is the number one Mizuho was 450 or something like that. Still not quite high. There might be another one that was higher, but I haven't found it.
There's another name out
I know
there
what you mean.
pretty high. Yeah.
I know that one you're talking about, but we rarely. I got to track them down. But yeah, they're smaller firm. Okay, so you've got Deutsche Bank raising Tesla price target to 435 from 345. I mean, we reported on this last week that it's not just everybody raising price targets. They're raising it by hundreds of dollars. This one's like a $90 raise. Their view is that Elon's focus on Tesla's Robotaxi and Optimus humanoid robot initiatives, that's why they did it, along with his recent comp package. It removed a large overhang on the stock, will allow Tesla to benefit from its position as leader in embodied AI. So they're all repeating the right words. Ahead of the third quarter deliveries next week, we raised our near-term estimates, given stronger volume. So clear focus on these things. So that's how they positioned it.
You know what? I mean, I think there's something here for the retail community as well, because I think we had a point about Elon being able to multitask, not your typical human, not your typical Outlook or Google Calendar, right? So I think we had a point with that, which he doesn't need to be opening and closing factories. But I do think some of the pressure that was occurring from the analyst community and abroad about Elon's focus. I mean, if you look back at it now and you look at even his own self-proclaimed level of involvement and, kind of in wartime mode, hardcore mode. I mean, there's clearly an impact. There's clearly a difference. So I think this is one for the retail community to kind of look back at and say, hey, everything happened for a reason. I still think his intent and purpose was appropriate, but I think he's just going to be so much more impactful in the private sector, literally bending the arc on some of these major technologies, whether it's real world AI or what he's doing with XAI and getting to super intelligence. I think his impact there is going to be far greater on society and even the economics of this country than going back at it the other way, which is like, I'm going to try to cut the budget. I'm going to try to cut things out in this unnecessary wasting, which he does in all of his companies to get them running in this manner so they can survive these economic downturns and just be more efficient. There's something there in terms of his focus at a whole new level. So you see some of these analysts coming back into the picture and saying, yeah, this is legit and it's going to impact the performance of Tesla. So we'll see.
Okay, so it's hard to know, but my view actually is that his focus now is great, but it's like the right timing, perfect timing, because FSD version 14 is about to launch. The human bot is already in the third generation and they're about to do things. Like if he had done this move to be much more focused in April instead of doing the government side quest thing, I'm not sure that we would necessarily have been further ahead per se, because things needed to take time to get FSD version 14 anyways, So
it's debatable. I think the FSD 14 camp is well managed with Ashok. I think there were areas where Elon came back to that were not as well managed. And the earlier he came back to that and embedded himself in it, probably earlier some changes would have occurred. So that's why I said it's debatable.
That's a good point. Okay, let's go through lots of things that happened with FSD 14. But first, before to report the new news, I need to kind of just report on what has happened last week. Many audience members already know this. So Jason said, my last 3 FSD rides were perfect. Hardware 4, 13, very close. And then Elon said, version 14 is going to go into early wide release next week, which is this week, by the way. So some people are already like waiting for it. Then 14.1 about 2 weeks later, and then finally 14.2. The car will almost feel like a sentient being by 14.2. He also posted this late last week. He said, this is still just version 13. This guy was reporting how great Tesla FSD is in Australia. And he said, that's just version 13. SETI Park posted this showing the difference between 14 and 13 based on the patents. You can see that this is the visual that 13 can give you, but this is the visual that 14 can give you. This is the huge difference in the ability to understand the location, where you're at. I mean, this is crazy how great it is, because this is the thing I've been waiting for. It's like reading stop and arrows. That's big deal, like lines. So this is what's now new is apparently that the UNECE has approved system-initiated maneuvers. I think this is when the car itself can actually decide what to do instead of having a human to give it directions on what to do. And because that is now approved, this now lets FSD and other systems similar to it to be approved as well. This paves the way for FSD supervised approval in countries that follow UNECE, which is many, many countries, not just in Europe. So this is the new version of the DCAS regulation, which is in force from today. First time that allows this system, what did I call it? The SIM, system initiated maneuvers. That's what it allows. So yeah, very good news. And then I think in Sweden, according to Alexander Christensen, he's been following it closely. That looks like that FSD version 14, according to information provided to him by the Swedish Transport Administration, they performed a site assessment test this week. So that might mean that sometime assessment will take 1 to 2 weeks. When it's done, Tesla will get approval to test FSD. So he's thinking that FSD version 14 could be approved in Sweden in a couple weeks. Let's hope.
Wow. That would be, and there's also some nonlinear things happening with deliveries in Sweden as well. It's just people need to, when they look at these monthly numbers, whether they're really positive or really terrible, just understand that with production in one country and global distribution in other countries and everything that's going on in Sweden with Tesla, by the way, this battle they're having with the unions, and there's just, there was at one point where the mail service wasn't delivering license plates for Teslas. And you just have to understand that there's a lot more going on when you look at vehicle sales and distribution. Then it's not all this beautiful linear thing of, there's unlimited supply and there's no barriers to entry. There's all these things happening. This is related though to FSD. And this would be a very big thing for Europe to get this in and get this approved in one country. Because I think one country, if they get one country in, get a couple more down, then I think it'll spread more rapidly. So this is a really important milestone for Tesla. It's great to see.
Yep, great to see. Okay, let's talk cars again. So first of all, Tesla is making huge moves to try to, end the quarter really well. They are running paid advertisements on Instagram, YouTube, and X in the U.S. to get people to order those cars prior to September 30th. These advertisements are well out. They also posted deliveries in full swing. There is Joe Techmeyer, his spy shots of Giga Texas is showing the most vehicles he's ever seen overflowing full and overflowing west outbound lots. You can see these photos here of all the cars that they're producing. They're just doing it quickly. I think at one point, Joe counted that there's one car coming out of the factory every minute. So it's going out really fast. And then other spy shots he found were these Model Y bodies being prepped for recycling and 10 crash test vehicles under covers at the crash testing facility. This could hint at the more affordable vehicle or some new kinds of vehicles. He's seeing these kinds of crash tests, or it could just be nothing, but he often sees these things and we all go crazy. And then there's a video of a new, more affordable, or at least this, we don't know what this is, but this guy's saying it's a cheaper Tesla, who knows. And then finally, you've got, so that's just that. And then you've got the consensus. So this Thursday, today's Monday, this Thursday, we will see the Q3 delivery estimates. And it says here that this is the Tesla's investor relations compiled the deliveries for next week is 443. And Gary's estimate is 470. And then it looks like the consensus, where are we now here? I can't read it. What's the consensus? 380.
440. Well, they're at 443. Those are just individual quarters.
Gotcha.
They're at 443. They've creeped up from 430. There'll be a narrative put around everything. First off, there'll be 3 different consensuses out there, which is ridiculous. Here you have a company, making the number one selling vehicle in the world, having it drive itself, having it do all these wonderful things. And then you have the analyst community, they can't get to one consensus. So there has to be 3. There's Bloomberg, there's Infinitive, or there's FactSet. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So some narrative will be created. And by the way, there's this Kalshi thing out there of like, 503,000 deliveries. So I think it's becoming a little bit more difficult for people that count cars to do this. I think some of them have fairly robust methods, but what's happening with Tesla is their sources of revenue are changing, and the reasons why people buy cars are changing. And with these product changeovers, I think it's just going to become a little bit more difficult. But going back on a couple of the stories about what Tesla's doing with this advertising, so I believe when this big beautiful bill passed in July, I think about a month prior to that, the car makers got indication that they were going to pull this $7,500 credit from end of December to end of September. But the orders were already on suppliers for a gigantic Q3, and quite frankly, a lot of Q4 orders were on suppliers for the parts that are greater than 12 weeks of lead time, which are a good portion of the bill of material have greater than 12 weeks of lead time. So this is actually, you won't hear Tesla talk about this. It's kind of like making the sausage, but this is a really good thing that the IRS rules were changed to allow 930 orders, and they could be converted later in Q4 and still get the credit, because Tesla already had those orders on suppliers. So they could have had potentially a big working capital issue if this was stuck at 930 and you had to take delivery by 930. So this is actually a good thing for Tesla. I think the momentum continues. I think new vehicles are coming out. I think consumers are going to have more options at different price points to buy vehicles. So I don't think there's going to be the US is one region of three. I don't think there's going to be some dramatic drop off in Tesla deliveries in Q4. And again, allowing this overhang is going to help that. But I think new vehicles are coming behind that. I have no inside information. I have no idea, but you see the spy shots, you see these vehicles that are covered up, and Tesla themselves have told you on 5 earnings calls in a row that they're making new vehicles. Some of them are going to be more affordable. And so I think it's happening. So let's see what they announce. Then, of course, you have Cybercab potentially entering production, at least starting at either the end of this year or early next year. And so in the first half, I always look at these things in 6 and 12 month increments. 6 months from now, where's Tesla going to be? We're going to have this fully matured FSD 14 out there. We're going to have Robotaxi potentially in 30 plus cities, covering half the US. We're going to have the safety monitor removed in areas where it qualifies. And we're going to have a Cybercab rolling off the line in production. That's just 6 months from now. So analysts have to get in front of these things. So part of these price, going full circle, part of these price target changes are chasing the stock. And part of it's like, I got to be in front of this stuff.
They're chasing the stock. You think that's what it is, but you're well said.
Yeah.
And the bot demo of the version 3 should hopefully be revealed by this first quarter of next year. So at some point, yeah. Well done. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that very much. That was a great show today. Lots we covered, but great info, especially the magnet stuff. You know the bots really well. Appreciate you, Jeff. Follow him on his X account at the Jeff Lutz. Subscribe to him if you can as well. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.